So, hello again and welcome to your yoga practice. Today's class focusing on inversions, in particular the headstand and the shoulder stand, and I'll be offering a couple variations for that. You may want to have a blanket available, especially for the shoulder stand, and also a wall if it's close by. If you have an open space wall, like I'll be demonstrating in a little bit, that may be a nice way to get some more support and make the pose more accessible for you. Let's start in a resting position. That could be anything that feels comfortable and where you're not needing to move or fidget. For example, come down onto your back and leave your knees bent with your feet on the floor. This variation of our final resting position, Shavasana, is especially nice for the lower back to relieve tension there. And this will help encourage your body and also your mind to settle down and allow yourself to arrive in this moment. Allow yourself to notice how you're feeling in your body. And if everything feels good, you, especially in the back, you can also extend your legs out one at a time. And see if you can use your exhales to encourage your body to let go of anything you don't need, be that physical tension, maybe just the way your thoughts are still moving about, those to-do lists popping in and out of your head. See if with your exhales you can release some of that busyness, some of that extra activity, and invite yourself to find a little bit more stillness, a little bit more comfort and ease in this moment, in this breath. Sometimes, especially if you have a very difficult feeling or a thought that just keeps returning, sometimes it's very helpful to engage, to energize, or in this case, to physically tense up the body. And then on an exhale, release that tension and notice what changes. So if you'd like to try that tension and relaxation with me right now, we'll start with the lower body. And on an inhale, go ahead and squeeze your feet, squeeze your toes towards the center of the feet, squeeze the muscles of your legs. You can even lift your legs and push your seat down into the ground. See if you can squeeze as many of the muscles in your lower body as you can. And on an exhale, release. And on your next exhale, see if you can just release a little more. We'll do that again now for the upper body. Let's see if you can maintain a relaxed, easy breathing while you're doing that. Or for a little bit more of that squeezing feeling, you could hold your breath. People with high blood pressure or specific medical conditions should just continue to breathe naturally. So on an inhale, we're going to activate the upper body. You could lift your head off the ground a little bit and squeeze the muscles of your face. Squeeze your hands into fists. Squeeze your arms, your chest. Squeeze everything like you were pulling it towards your center. And on an exhale, release. With your next exhalation, see if there's anywhere you can release a little more. We'll try that one more time with the whole body at once. When you feel ready, on an inhale, we're going to start to squeeze the muscles of the lower body. Option to raise the legs, option to raise the upper body as you squeeze all of the muscles from the waist up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze everything towards your center. And on an exhale, release. And again, with the next exhale, see if you can just dissolve into that circulation of sensation and energy moving about inside of you. And as you continue to breathe naturally in through the nose, and if it feels good, out through the nose. Again, see if you can use your exhales to let go of anything and everything that you don't need to be fully present right now, right here. Scanning over your body again to notice if there are any particular places where you're still holding on to physical tension, or maybe it's a big emotion, or maybe it's something more subtle. Notice any of those signs of resistance or anything that just feels hard or uncomfortable. That's okay. Just notice that. And as you continue to watch the rise and fall of your natural breath, see if you can also notice how that changes, how that develops with the next breath. Once you've had a chance to stand over your whole body, bring your attention back to your breathing at a place in the body where you can really notice the breath. You want to be able to feel perhaps it's the movement, the rise of your belly with your inhale. And see if you can notice that movement, that falling of each exhale. Perhaps it's more present in the upper chest today, or even your throat. Wherever possible, we'll continue breathing in through the nose. And if it feels better, you can also breathe out through the mouth, making a sound with the breath, a sigh, if that encourages you to relax and release unnecessary tension. Taking one more moment to notice how you're breathing naturally in your normal breathing rhythm before we start to deepen the breath. So at the end of your next exhalation, we want to get all the old air out. You could even squeeze your navel into the body to encourage that last air out. And then begin to deepen and lengthen your next inhale. Just a little bit, that's enough. And then on your exhale, take the time so that the length and the strength of your breath out matches that deeper and longer breath in. You get a full release. Let's continue like this. So in your own time, and as you're ready, your breath will successively get bigger, fuller, and you might even pause at the top of the breath. And then on an exhale, you are consciously slowing the breath down so that your exhales are at least as long as your inhales. The important part here is to take your time and let the exhale be complete. We're going to continue like this for a few more rounds of breath, just exploring this capacity for opening and expansion. And as you exhale, again, being mindful, being a neutral observer of anything you can observe as you take a full breath out. That could again be those movements, the sensations of your breathing, or maybe it's something that's more difficult to put a word on. You can still draw your attention to it. We'll do this again for another round of breath until you feel like you will have arrived at your maximum but still comfortable breathing rhythm. You don't want to cause any difficulty for yourself because of your breathing. If you feel your breath has become forced or it in any way is causing distress, back off a little bit, take it easier, and just return to a more comfortable or maybe your more natural rhythm of easy breathing. And continue like that. So here you should either be at your maximum comfortable breath or resting back in your natural breathing rhythm. And we're just going to observe 5 more rounds of breathing. Noticing an inhale as 1, and the exhale finishes that count of 1. Inhaling, resting your attention in the breath for 2. And as you exhale slowly and smoothly, taking the time, completely releasing, finishes 2. Continue like this for the next 3 rounds of smooth, uninterrupted breath. And if your mind should wander, that's okay. It happens. Just notice when that happens and what has taken your attention, and then return for the next breath. At the end of your 5th round of complete and full exhalation, simply return to your natural breathing and take a moment again to notice how you feel. And again, observe if there are any changes, be they physical, maybe mental or emotional, something even a little bit softer, a little bit more subtle that you didn't notice before. And then noticing again your breathing and noticing how that may have changed after this exercise. When you're ready, we'll start to move the body again, waking it up with any gentle movements that just feel nice. They feel intentional. You're going to take a big stretch with the arms overhead before bending your knees again, resting your feet on the floor, and then hugging your legs into your body and noticing your lower back. So you want to feel like the spine has room here to extend, and your lower back in particular is long and resting down in the direction of the floor at the bottom of your spine, so at your tailbone. Keeping that length, go ahead and engage your core. So you pull the muscles of your abdominal area towards the floor, towards your spine and the back body. And now see if while you're holding that engagement, you can also breathe a little bit more into the back body, into that area by your lower back and just above that in the kidney area. If you're still able to breathe fully and easily here, you might even feel more expansion in the upper back, in the area behind the shoulders, shoulder blades. Go ahead and release that, relaxing the muscles in your core area. And just notice the difference. We're going to use that engagement, but above all that, still feeling of being able to breathe freely and deeply when we start to engage a little bit of core work. We'll start by lifting our forehead. So breathe out fully. And on an inhale, engaging your abdominal area, lift your forehead in the direction of your knees and stay there for a breath. Maybe coming up a little bit more as you inhale, and then exhale, coming back down. Great. We'll do that one more time. Inhaling, engaging the core, keeping the length and the space for the spine nice and long. Inhale, you might come up a little bit more, and then exhale, release. Very nice. We're going to lower both feet onto the floor and extend the left leg down and draw that right knee into the chest. Again, try to feel that length in the lower spine. You might also use your hands to create a little bit more space around the back of the pelvis, giving room for that lower back to stretch out. And then with your left hand on your right knee, we're going to draw the body into a gentle twist, bringing the right leg over to your left side. You can look up, staying in your center here with the head and the neck, or bring the twist a little bit into the top of the spine, looking in the opposite direction of your leg, looking over to your extended right arm. As you just take another breath, maybe two in this position. That extended leg, activating it away from your head a little bit more. Maybe engaging the core again on an inhale, and as you exhale, just softening, noticing. As you inhale, we'll engage the core to come out, and then exhale to release, coming back into a neutral position, perhaps both feet on the floor, before extending the right leg long and drawing the left leg into your body. Notice your lower back. Preparing for your twist on an inhale, a little engagement. On your exhale, we're going to soften into the twist. So this is not your biggest twist today, if you're a big fan of twists. This should be something easy, and above all, it should feel good and allow you to still breathe deeply enough that you can notice what's happening in your body and especially in your spine. The leg does not need to come all the way over. But use your inhale again to engage in the center and lengthen that extended leg away from your head. Use your exhales to just ease your way a little bit more into the twist. Great stuff. On an inhale, we'll come out, belly pulling back towards the spine, and exhale, release back to neutral. Do one more core stabilizing before we get moving here. So bring your knees right above your hips so that your lower legs are parallel to the floor, but also parallel to each other. You can keep your hands on the floor, maybe turn the hands facing down for a little more grounding connection, a little more support. But above all, it's going to be your center that supports the length in the lower back. While you exhale, you're going to let the tips of one toe or one foot come towards the floor by just bending the knee and holding on to that engagement in your middle. Spread the toes on both feet as you exhale the other foot towards the floor, or maybe your toes will tap. Not necessary, but it can be nice. And really try to stabilize your knees here. So we're kind of sliding and opening through the joint of the knee while pulling into your center, maintaining length in the lower back, but above all, doing this at a level where you're able to maintain a free-flowing breath. Spreading the toes apart, just building some awareness there at the tips of the body. As you exhale, lowering the toes towards the floor. This may cause cramping, especially if these muscles, you haven't been using them a lot, or maybe just the circulation in the body. It's not yet, it's colder perhaps. So if that does happen, breathe into it, but you could also pause, take a break, and maybe give your legs or your feet a little squeeze, a little self-massage. So follow your breathing rhythm here, really taking the time to feel and expand as you inhale. And as you exhale, you're maintaining that feeling, especially the engagement of the belly in, the low back long. But as you let your knees soften a little bit. One more time through both sides. And the next time you bring your second leg back up, keep the lower legs parallel, spread the toes on an inhale. And on an exhale, draw the legs into the chest, maybe sigh it out. Feel that? And we'll just roll on the back a little bit of massage before coming up onto hands and knees. So you could do that by just rolling over to your side or rolling along your spine and coming up onto hands and knees. So a little bit of work here, mobilizing the spine before we return to that stability and that energy we want to help power some inversions, but maintain that sense of groundedness, sense of stability, and connection to your center. So we're just gonna move the spine in any way that feels good. I really love this cat and cow stretch on an inhale, arching the back and looking up. And on an exhale, rounding the back, pulling the belly into the center as you spread your shoulder blades out wide. As you inhale, it's the pelvis, and in particular, the sitting bones that it's spread back and out. And as you exhale and pull your tail down towards your knees, you drop your chin towards your chest. Get round. Inhaling, the belly is soft, the shoulders resting away from your ears in the upper back. As you exhale, pull that belly in, get round, let the head hang heavy here. Inhale, one more time, arching, and exhaling, rounding. Great work. We do one more stabilizer here while we're on all fours with opposite leg and hand as the option, or just one leg. Inhale, lift it up. If your balance feels wobbly, you'll just work with one leg today here. Hands underneath your shoulders, but activate that foot away from you, flexing through the foot, pulling your abdomen in, and noticing the length on your neck. Option to bring that opposite arm away. And on an exhale, we're going to get round again, bringing the knee towards your elbow, or maybe all the way up to the nose. Inhale, get long. Activate the center, and exhale, squeeze. Get as small as you can, like tight round ball. Inhale, you maintain that stability and look for length. And exhale, you squeeze towards the center and release, noticing how it feels in a neutral position before we're getting ready for the other side. So you extend that second leg back and then lift it up, noticing your hips still want to be balanced. They want to be level with the floor, and engage the core. Reach through the bottom of that foot back away from you. Option to bring that opposite arm up. Noticing all sides of your neck. So you're looking somewhere just right in front of your mat maybe, so that the back of the neck is as long as the front. And on an exhale, squeezing again back to center. Inhale. And exhale. Good work. Let's do that one more time for good luck. And exhale one more time. Get your maximum squeeze on. Really pull in. And then lengthen before releasing back to a neutral position. Okay, we're going to tuck the toes as you're ready and come into our first inversion, downward facing dog. But again, this should be kind of an easy feeling in your down dog as we're still waking up the body. So you can open your legs a little bit wider than hip distance if you like, and bend your knees as much as you need to feel good in your back. This is a great stretch for the lower back. And also the upper back will feel good if you have a supported, relaxed feeling in the shoulders. To encourage this, let your head hang heavy, right in between your upper arms. And you might widen your hands so they're at least as wide as your shoulders apart. Spread your fingers nice and big. And breathe deep. Option also to stretch one leg a little bit more deeply by bending the opposite knee and stretch that heel back. Come up onto the toes and maybe try the other side. Do your best to keep your legs parallel here, and with your feet following your knees, you won't be able to see the back side of your foot, your heel. One more breath. Before bending the knees and looking forward at your hands and walking, or stepping, or hopping forward into another really fundamental inversion, standing forward bend. Now for this forward bend, I want you to have your feet hip distance apart or even a little bit more. That's about 2 of your fists in between the front of your foot. Spread your toes and bend your knees enough that you can get your hands on the floor easily. So if they don't reach, just bend a little bit more and then lift your seat up a little bit more. So the legs are active in this pose. But by keeping a bend in the knees, you'll let circulation flow through the legs, which is really important in an inversion like this. You never want to lock your knees straight. Instead, to get some more opening here in the back of the legs, what I want you to do is feel your hips and direct your hips up, even as you reach your feet down. So through the back of the heel, or the center of the back of the foot, and the middle of the heel. Spread the toes and breathe deep. And you could also grab your arms if you liked here, and just let your head and neck move in any direction that feels good. You grab your arms in one way with one arm in front. Notice what it's like when you do it the other way. Sometimes that just gives you a little bit more space. That orientation encourages a different release. We're going to come out of this pose slowly, hands to the floor, before engaging the legs again. So we want to feel strong legs, hips reaching up, with soft knees, and then a very gentle release through the whole spine. You're going to unroll one piece at a time. Really take your time to come up. There's no rush. You want your head and neck to be the last pieces to unroll and rise up. You're standing in your mountain pose. And noticing again how you feel. Notice your natural breath. Lovely. So notice the alignment of your body in mountain pose. This is going to be a very similar orientation, just in the opposite direction when we do our inversions of headstand, and even to some extent shoulder stand. So just noticing where your ears are in relation to your shoulders. If you can relax the shoulders back down. Shoulders right above the hips. Hips right above the knees. Easy knees, but still strong legs that help encourage this lift and length as you settle into a full, easy breath. We're going to continue warming up the body with a couple rounds of sun salutation before we start on some options for holding our body in an inversion, grounded in our center. So we'll inhale and reach up, look up. Exhale, bending from your hips, folding forward. On an inhale, the right leg will lead first round, and exhale, the left leg comes back to meet it. Either holding for a breath, take a breath, and then on an exhale, lower down, chaturanga, release. Point your toes away from you and inhale, engage the feet down, the tail of the cobra to lift your upper body forward and up. Exhale, release the chin to the chest, coming back through hands and knees, or just lifting your hips back up to downward dog. Inhale, the right leg still leading until it gets all the way between your hands. So you can use your hands to help it there. And then exhale, step that back foot forward, and you're back in forward bend. Inhale, rise up. Now you can do that rolling action, but we're going to do this with one breath. So you might also bend the knees more and lift the back. One long line. Exhale, settle down. And again, notice and feel. Second side, inhale, reaching up, looking up. Exhale, bending from the hips and bend your knees as much as you need. Inhale the left leg back. Exhale the right. Option to hold the breath, option to keep the knees up. And as you exhale, chaturanga, lower down. Point your toes away from you. Inhale, come forward and up. Cobra pose, making sure you don't need your hands to hold it. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg forward, all the way between the hands. Exhale, right leg comes to meet. Inhale, one breath, rising up. And exhale, at least a breath to settle down or until you feel ready in your heart, in your breath. Inhale, rise up, long back. Exhale, folding forward, release. Inhale, right leg back. Exhale the left. Taking a breath or holding that and finishing that exhale. Don't be afraid to use your knees to lower down slow with control. Inhale, cobra pose. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale the right. And exhale the left. Inhale, coming up. And exhale, coming back. Inhale, strong legs here, support a gentle back bend if you like. And an exhale, folding forward, release. Inhale, left leg leads. Exhale the right. Finishing that exhale, maybe coming a centimeter forward as you lower the whole body, one line to the ground. Inhale, cobra pose, shoulders back, away from the ears. Exhale, reaching up with your hips. Settle back down, down dog. Inhale, left leg coming forward, maybe using help. Exhale, step forward, forward bend. Keep those knees gentle. Bend the knees more if you use the chair pose to lift up. And settle down, getting ready for our final round in your rhythm. Listening to your body, following your breath. So we'll inhale generally to extend and lift. Exhale to soften and release. Inhale, right side first. Exhale to left. And on an exhale, release. Inhale, rising up, looking up. Exhale, coming back, looking between your legs, turning inwards. Inhale, right side. Exhale the left. Inhale, strong legs, long back. Exhale, center. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, feeling, and exhale, observing, releasing. Inhale, last cobra here. Exhale, one more downward dog. Inhale, last time the lunge on the left side is first. And exhale the right to meet it. Inhale, taking your time, a full breath. Exhale, settling down, at least a breath. Or allow your body now to settle back to its natural rhythm, where your heartbeat feels relaxed, where your breath is easy and soft. I'm going to come back down to the floor. So come down to your knees, and even start on hands and knees, and then grab your elbows. So your elbows should be right underneath your shoulders here. We're going to come into dolphin, which is a great preparation pose for the headstand. We start in this version of dolphin, fairly easy to maintain, but you should be able to feel that length in the low back and engage your core. From here, we're going to walk the leg back, starting in a forearm plank. Notice, again, the length on all sides of your neck. You really want to avoid here crunching the back of the neck or any pinching feelings. Engage your core as you reach back through your feet and walk your feet slowly forward into the classic dolphin here. Now, again, you can bend your knees as much as you need. This is really more about using the base here of the forearms and equal distribution of the weight through both shoulders to lift your hips up so we can get a nice stretch in the back. Using a lot of our core strength, a little bit of that upper body, which will help in the headstand or its variations. And again, this is a nice inversion. So we're getting some of those benefits of inversion that tend to activate the parasympathetic system in the body, encouraging that calm, slower rhythm in your mind and in your heart. We're still breathing. So go ahead and notice your breath. Let's see if you can lengthen that and lift the seat up a little bit more as you walk your way back down for 3 more breaths in that lower forearm plank, reaching your feet away from you, shoulders connecting in the body. You could lower your knees down, especially if the belly feels like it's sagging. Activate that core, though, either way to get that length in the low back. And then settle down, knees down, and release. We'll come into Sphinx pose for a gentle decompression for our center. Point your toes away from you, and again, the elbows right underneath your shoulders, but now bring your forearms parallel to each other, just like the long lines of the sides of your mat. Spread your toes. So let's see if you can notice that space in between each of the toes on both feet. And with shoulders relaxed, begin to lift the crown of your head forward as you bring your heart forward and up. Shoulders relaxed. The breath is easy and deep. Nice. Go ahead and come back out of that. And as a nice complement for the Sphinx and that back bend, we'll come back into child's pose. The big toes touching, your knees as wide apart as your mat, or even maybe a little more or less. Settle down with your lower body in a position where you can let your upper body rest on top, even resting your forehead on your hands or on the mat. Notice how you feel in your shoulders. We want to encourage the shoulders to relax here as we recover back into, again, that natural rhythm, easy heartbeat, soft breath. You might even bring your arms back so your forearms are resting on your legs, if that makes you feel easier in your shoulders. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling a little warmer, maybe even a little bit stronger here, which is exactly what you want for our headstand preparation. And so we're going to come from seated pose here, from your sitting bones on your heels into the rabbit pose as the first variation. So for this, you want to keep your seat close to your feet and be able to grab either the outside toe, the little toe there, or the back of the heel. Relax your shoulders, lift your heart, lengthen your spine, and on an exhale, we're going to fold forward until we can't hold that connection, and we're going to have to bring down the head to the floor. And now holding probably the back of the foot is more accessible, we bring the top of the head to the floor. Now, I like the rabbit as preparation for headstand because you really can't put too much weight on your head and neck in this pose. And that's the same for the headstand. Maximum, we're looking for less than 20% of the body weight on top of your head. And so with this pose, your hips are still above your knees, but we start to bring some of that weight. And notice the support in the head and the neck is strong enough to hold you. And then you can rest here and notice your breath. So that's one variation. If that didn't feel too comfortable today, you could also just come back into any of the dolphin variations. That's also great preparation for the headstand. And that's how we'll get into one of our 2 headstand variations. And you could practice this against a wall, or sorry, just in front of a wall if you want. What that helps is, helps you realize you won't fall over, you won't fall forward. It might give you that extra confidence that you want. A little bit closer here. So with your mat facing the wall, coming back from that dolphin forearm variation on all fours, bring your hands together. And I'll show you this a couple different ways. Doesn't even need the mat. So to come into headstand, you want to make sure you have a properly positioned base. For this, it's essential your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. From here, you unfold the arms until you can clasp your hands. If you're wearing rings, you might need to take them off if that's making your fingers uncomfortable. And sometimes you have to put your 2 little fingers one in front of the other instead of one on top of the other, as it might make the lowest finger too much pressure. It might feel too intense. So again, check your position, elbows right under your shoulders so that you can hold the outside of the elbow in both hands, and then clasp the hands. You're going to bring now your head, and it's the space right where the forehead ends, where the top of the head begins. You're going to bring that right behind that little finger. I'm showing you from the side here, but it's great, again, especially if you're new, to practice this right in front of a wall. And then slowly, we're going to come up just like we did in dolphin. Most important here is you don't feel any pinching in your neck. Feel that weight distribution through both shoulders. And of course, your forearms are very strong here. Upper arms, nice and engaged. And you can slowly just start to walk your feet closer to your head. And this could be all the headstand that you need today. Feel free to bend the knees. Breathing deep. Now you don't want to look around when you're bearing any weight on your head. So if you need to take a break, or you want to check out what I'm doing, pause and then come up to look. And the exact position of the head may be different depending on how you feel in your neck. So for me, it's usually right again where my hairline used to end, right where the top of the head begins. And for you, it might be that the top of the head comes closer to the floor. What doesn't change is your stable base. If you feel like your arms have spread open, it's time to come out, take a break, come back to child's pose. And when you feel ready, coming back in, maybe to dolphin or the rabbit pose, or trying one more time this supported headstand, starting to walk your toes forward until you feel like you're so light you could come up with one foot. And maybe you're only resting on one toe of one leg, bending the other knee. Make sure you feel good through your neck. Sure, you can breathe easy and deep. And eventually, with practice, you're going to be able to take both feet off of the floor and maybe just keep the knees bent in this version of a headstand. So it's really the forearms and the upper arms, shoulders doing the most of the work here. Very little weight is in the head. And eventually, you might bring your legs all the way long. Settle in wherever you are. Just a couple more full, easy breaths. When you're ready, you need to save your concentration, save your energy to come out slowly. Bending the knees, and try to lower out of the headstand as slowly as you can. And be sure to take enough time to come back into a resting pose. So whenever we do an inversion, the tendency of the blood flow is reversed. So we want to give ourselves time to let the heartbeat again recover and return to its natural resting rhythm. So the rule of thumb here is you want to spend at least as much time in a recovery pose, like child's pose, as you did in your inversion, or until your heart and your breathing tell you you're feeling back at rest, feeling ready. Well, so for shoulder stand here, we're definitely going to want to try a blanket. It's really going to make it that much easier on the neck. And you'll position a folded blanket. So notice on my folded blanket here, I have a closed side, but here's also an open side. I'm going to put that closed side right behind my shoulders with a little bit more of a stable edge. And so for me, I'll position that open side about about a full forearm from me away from the wall. And I'm going to come down to sit at first just in front of my blanket, right to its side, and lower down onto my back, and then legs up on the wall, next to the wall, so that the shoulder blades are completely resting on the blanket, but my neck is off the blanket, head is resting on the floor. And this is your first version of a shoulder stand. Also a great inversion, a very restorative pose. What's important here is the length now in the upper back is also maintained. A nice opening in the chest, thanks to the blanket. And of course, your head and neck never want to feel pinched or impinged in these poses. Not only if this feels good for you, you're going to start to bring your arms closer to your seat. Make sure your shoulders aren't collapsing or rounding forward. And you start to bend your knees and walk your legs up a bit. You can keep your hands on the ground if that helps maintain that length in the upper back. And again, no moving your head or neck when you're in a weight-bearing pose upside down. You could bring your arms a little bit closer together if that's going to encourage you to lengthen the upper back and open the chest. And maybe walk the feet up just a little bit more for shoulder stand. Really nice supported version of this pose. And if you have it in your practice to do without a wall, feel free to do that, but I would encourage you to try it with a blanket. For most bodies and most people, you'll feel that your neck has a lot more ease with the support of one or more blankets. So now here I'm going to flip the orientation of the blanket around so the closed side closer to the top of my shoulders. Some people like to come into shoulder stand from the plow. So from this pose, you bend your legs and lift them up. And then just bring your legs, bring your hips over, starting in the plow. Keeping your hands facing down. Shoulders connecting down to the blanket, to the earth. And the option to bend the elbows and reach for your lower back. Fingers pointing up as you bring your legs up. Again, don't move the head and neck around. Just looking towards the center of your chest. And it's more important that you keep that length through the whole spine, and especially a good feeling in the neck. Much more important than bringing your hips or the whole body to completely vertical position. Depending on your shirt, you might feel better if you grab underneath the shirt directly to the skin, no slipping. Settling in. Take at least one more breath here. And coming out, you'll bend the knees, bring them in the direction of your forehead. If you're against the wall, releasing your arms, and just lowering your seat down, coming to your side. Just on your mat here, you'll slowly unroll vertebra by vertebra, using your hands, using your core, and bending your knees as much as you need. Release. And feel that. Notice any changes you might be more aware of after changing your orientation, changing your relationship with gravity. Now, the classic pose we're going to come to balance shoulder stand is the fish. So come to your mat, come on the floor, if you're not already there. And we'll start with knees bent and bring your arms underneath your seat. So your hands now facing down. Some people like to make fists or turn the hands up. Just depends on how you're going to feel through your elbows and your shoulders in your upper arm. Then extend your legs long, bring the feet together to touch, legs touching. So very strong base here, active legs. And we'll bring that activation into the core to lift the upper body up for fish pose. So flex the feet, engage your abdomen, and on an inhale, lift up your whole upper body. And then as you exhale from your heart upwards, so towards the direction of your head, you start to bend the head back. A big opener for the chest and the neck. Communicative energy centers in our body. It's also a big feeling for a lot of people, a big emotional connection or release. So I'm going to stay here as long as you can maintain deep, easy breath. Some people like to bring the head to the ground, but again, you don't want to put a lot of weight in the head. And looking back, if that's too much on your neck, then look up, look in a direction that feels good for your neck. And see if you can lift your heart up just a little bit more. Powerful heart opener and a deep breath. To come out, use your core, pull the belly in as you lift the whole upper body up. And then exhale and release. Again, take as much time as you need till the heart and your breathing have settled down. Before we take one of the most balancing poses, especially energetically in the body, we'll come into a seated, long-legged pose. And from here, a seated, long-legged forward bend, Paschimottanasana. For my seat, it helps to spread the flesh back and out a little bit, so I feel that connection of the sitting bones down to the ground. Hands can stay right by your sides, especially if that helps you relax your shoulders and lengthen your neck. And then from here, you start to walk your fingers just forward a little bit. And we're going to bend at the hips, but if you need to, you can also bend your knees or even put something underneath your knees if that's going to give you a longer, better feeling in the lower back. So we want to maintain that good feeling and the space in the lower back as you, like we did at the beginning, soften your way here into your bend and stretch. So it really doesn't matter how far your hands go. If you're very flexible, you might be able to grab the shins or closer to your feet. But if that caused you to round your lower back and you're feeling more like a croissant than, let's say, a baguette, then that's too much. So let's activate the feet there. Strong legs here will help you lengthen that lower back feeling again and folding from your hips. The very, very flexible who can already reach the feet easily, you might benefit by putting a block or something behind your feet so you have to extend your reach. But that's too much for me today. So I'm just gonna even come out of the pose a little bit to lengthen the spine, activate the core, and on an exhale, fold a little easier into that forward bend. Settle here for at least 2 or 3 more smooth, easy, and unrushed breaths. We've been noticing some rounding shoulders, so I'll release that extra reach and just let the arms fall heavy wherever they are, trying to get an open chest, full breath. Coming out, same way you came in, activate that core, lengthen the whole spine. And as a nice counter pose to that forward bend, we're going to bring the hands behind the body, the fingers facing forward, or maybe sideways, maybe back. So you can lift the whole body up in reverse table, maybe even taking the reverse plank. Lengthen the whole body, but also connect to your center again. Lift your hips. And then on an exhale, kind of swinging the body. Sometimes I just like to let it release, hinging on the arms. Good job. So we got through at least the first half of the Shivananda sequence today, and then make sure you get enough time for a deep relaxation. We're just kind of leave it at that balanced point before we settle into relaxation pose. You still feel like you need some movement. One movement that always feels good for me through the hips is bending the knees and just letting the legs roll over side to side. Maybe even slowing that down and finishing with a little twist at the top of the back, the head and the neck. Before coming all the way down, right where you started, to any comfortable resting pose, classically with your back on the floor, back of the head on the floor, the head and the neck, a natural extension of your center line. And you could keep your knees bent and bring your feet as wide as the mat, and even let the knees rest on each other. This is a really nice supported version of Shavasana. If you have a blanket or a bolster, you could also put them underneath your knees. The easy knees, the gentle bend there, will also soften the front of the hips, and that helps encourage that lower back to say, and trust into the support that you rest the body on. Again, encouraging the whole body to settle, letting your whole physical body release tension with every exhale. See if you can notice the weight of your body here, resting on the floor. And with each exhale, just give yourself permission to fully let go. Noticing those points where your body touches the mat, touches the floor. And as you exhale, allow those contact points to rest a little heavier. With your inhales, you notice the length of the whole body. With your exhales, notice if you can let the whole body rest a little heavier. Once you feel like you've settled into your resting position, where you no longer need to adjust, make any small changes, make sure the arms are facing up by your sides, a little bit of space between the body and the arms, so the underarm also has room to breathe. The shoulders relax down to the ground. If you like, you can bring the upper body up for just a moment, bring the shoulder blades under the body, and then set that upper spine, the back of the head, fully at rest again on the ground. Closing your eyes, and allowing your attention to turn inward, scanning over your physical body again, starting with your toes. Notice how you feel in the feet and the toes, allowing any tension in the body to dissolve and release. Noticing how you feel in your lower legs and your knees. allowing the lower legs and knees to soften, almost like the knees were floating on the leg. Notice the upper legs, your hips, your pelvis. Allow the upper legs, the hips and the pelvis to relax. Noticing how you feel through your spine and the whole torso, the upper body. Allowing the spine, the upper body to open and breathe. And with each exhale, to settle down and relax. Noticing the length in your arms, and the space on the inside of each hand. With your exhale, allowing your arms to settle and relax. Noticing your neck, your head, and all of the muscles of your face. Soften your neck, your head, and relax all of the muscles of your face. Softening your forehead, your eyebrows, softening the space between the eyebrows as you relax all of the little muscles around the eyes, relaxing your cheeks and your chin, relaxing the lips, the nose, and the mouth. Noticing your tongue resting heavy at the bottom of your mouth, soft, easy, as you let your whole attention rest for a few moments of stillness. Allow your attention to rest in the natural rise and fall of your beautiful breath. Feel free to stay here resting as long as you need. Only when you feel ready, very slowly and gently, start to deepen your breathing. Just as we did before, ease your way into it. Naturally, let the inhales extend. And take your time so that every exhale is complete. And when you feel ready, when the body feels light enough, it feels this increased energy, bigger breaths, you may want to wake up your physical body with small movements first. Wiggling fingers and toes, rolling through ankles and wrists, or just any other movement that feels sweet, feels good. I invite you to take another big stretch with me from your fingertips, arms overhead, all the way through the body and the tips of your toes. Exhale, release. Release the arms by your sides and bend your legs into the body, giving yourself one big hug, one last squeeze before you roll over onto your right side. Just rest for a moment. Notice the support of the earth. When you feel ready, come up to any comfortable seated position. If you prefer height, use height. Sit in a way where your knees feel good. You don't feel any pressure in your hips. And where you can lift your spine, lift your heart. Pausing, settling one more time into stillness. Just noticing how you feel in your physical body. Noting the changes once more. And then turning your attention one last time to your breath. Finishing your practice with gratitude. It's always nice. So make sure to thank yourself for making the time for yoga in your day today. And I thank you for sharing your practice with us here. May it benefit you and all those around you. Namaste.